It's been like 2 months or something since I finished Three Body Problem. We're gonna start the second book, The Dark Forest. And what's surprising is, when you look at the list of characters at the start of the book, like this thing, there's no Wang Miao. I got so confused and worried that there was no Wang Miao. I had to look up on Reddit to see what happens, and every time I look up on Reddit, like, there's a little spoiler, so whatever. We'll just wait till that happens. So, we're starting off with the prologue, and basically it's kind of annoying, but there's an ant that's like kind of just doing its own thing, and the author goes into great detail explaining what the ant's doing. But what's important is Luo Ji, a new character, meets up with Yi Wenji, and she tells him that he should study cosmic sociology. And she says, like, here's some axioms, and you should build like a theory, like Euclidean geometry, that kind of thing, where you can like with Euclidean geometry, it's like 2 lines make a straight point, and then there's a few more axioms, and then you can just build on this whole geometry thing. It's amazing. Super smart. So that's what she's saying that Luo Ji should focus his efforts on. And then, and this is all before, I think at the end of the first book, she ends up dying, but it's very subtle. Like, it's not really explained how she dies. I think she just wanted to, I don't know. Yeah, so this all happened before the end of the first novel. I'm going to start highlighting too. I highlighted this full section about the ant, even though it was kind of hard to pinpoint what the point of the ant was. But I really like this part. So, the ant was like looking through good parts or something, trying to achieve its own goal. And there was one part where it labeled it as 9. Like this 9 spot is really good. It did not feel any regret at forgetting the 9, for constant forgetting was part of life. Because ants always just forget things. They can't store everything. There were few things that it needed to remember forever, and those were etched by its genes into the storage area known as instinct. I love that. It's so good. Yeah, so, and another important thing that happens in this chapter is we go back to I think it's called Judgment Day, the ship, and Mike Evans is talking to one of the Trisolarans, and they're communicating about how humans communicate and how Trisolarans communicate. So with Trisolarans, they emit brainwaves in a like electromagnetic spectrum, and other of their kind can like read it. So with Trisolarans, they don't speak or anything. They just communicate with their brains, and so they can't really hide their thoughts. They can't tell a lie, basically. And Mike Evans is like saying, oh, well, I actually think we are more superior. They're kind of having this argument about who's more superior. Mike Evans is like, well, it's kind of bad that you can't hide your thoughts, You can't lie or cheat or deceit. And the alien's like, yes, we fully couldn't understand that concept that you have about lying and stuff. And Mike Evans tells this story about like almost like Little Red Riding Hood, where the grandma, there's a wolf that wants to eat the children, and the grandma goes out shopping and says, lock the doors, don't let anyone come in. But the wolf wants to eat the children, and so the wolf disguises itself as the grandma and gets in and eats the children. And the aliens are confused by this because they're like, well, if the wolf just told its true intentions, this wouldn't have happened. And yeah, I think, and then after this conversation, the aliens were like, we're afraid of you. They realized like the lying can be really dangerous. The fact that they can lie and Trisolarans can't. And after that point, Mike Evans and the aliens never talked to again. And then we know what happens in book 1, where Mike Evans gets like chopped up. But yeah, so that's the end of the prologue. Pretty cool prologue. Like in the last novel, the prologue only got up to a certain point. And I thought, like I finished reading the prologue, so I won't need to read this, but turns out there's way more to read in this prologue. This is a good start so far. I'm loving this already. Let's hope it gets even better. And predictions, I think Luo Ji will be the one coming up with the Dark Forest theory, because he's been studying cosmic sociology, and with all these like things, with all these axioms, he'll be the one to come up with the theory. And the theory is that, like, with the Dark Forest, if you're in a forest and it's dark and you don't want to get eaten, right? And other people feel the same way. You don't want to make a sound in the forest, because if you make a sound, that animal can come and eat you, and vice versa. So I think that's what the Dark Forest means. And I think it's a unique theory that they've made up, the author has made up in this book. Yeah, but then it's actually like a legit theory and a good reason why aliens might not have spoken out to us, and why maybe we shouldn't speak out to aliens as well. We're on part 1, the wall faces, and there's a big problem with this book. There is no chapters. I was gonna like keep reading until I stop at a chapter, but there doesn't seem to be a kind of thing. So I think I'll just stop every 50-ish pages. We are at year 3, the crisis era. The distance of the Trisolaran fleet from the solar system is 4.21 light years. So apparently they're going to come in about 400 years. And the way the author has set this up is like, he's introduced so many different characters. They're all playing some sort of part in dealing with this whole alien attack that'll be coming soon. I don't know a lot of the names. There's just too many names. So I'll just kind of lay out what's been happening. I think they built a ship, the one that goes on water, and that can shoot like missiles, and that could attack the Sophon if it ever unfolded again. And it's unclear to me if that did happen in one of their tests where they destroyed one of the Sophons that unfolded or not, or if it was just a test of some sort, like some sort of replica. There's that going on. What's interesting is they've introduced a wall breaker, the second wall breaker, and he starts talking to the Trisolarans, which is very cool. We don't know his name yet, but he like wakes up, he's about to shoot himself, and then he gets messages, instantaneous messages from the Trisolarans, and it comes through his pupils, and they're like, don't kill yourself. Here's some proof that, it's us. Like your goldfish is dead. When you threw your cigarette into it actually went into the fish pond and killed them, and all that stuff. They start talking, and I think the aliens are learning a bit more about human nature. They're kind of understanding about deceit, and they've started to kind of do it themselves, but at like a level of a year 4-year-old type thing. The Trisolarans want this guy to enact Mike Evans. Like, Mike Evans had some encrypted thing that they were supposed to do, and now it's come even more important, because what the humans are gonna do is like a wall facer program. I haven't got too much into that yet, but it's about to happen, and they want the wall breakers to, like, I guess, stop the wall faces. I think the plan of the wall faces or wall breakers, the Trisolarans want them to stay on Earth. They don't want them scattered across the cosmos with their hidden thoughts or something like that. They see it as a threat. So, like, I guess their plan is somehow to stop space navigation. And throughout this chapter, it seems like a lot of things have been focused on space navigation. Like, everything's building a space fleet. There's talks of like, you should invest in this because, it'll be in the future, your great grandchildren will be the ones on this fleet heading off into space. But the sad news is there's this one guy who I think put some stocks into that type thing, put a lot of his money into banking on that it'll be a really good investment. But the UN announces that it's illegal to do any sort of escapism. So now I guess all his money's gone, and his baby was just born. Meanwhile, Luo Ji, I think, is going to be the wall facer by the looks of it. And he just... he's very similar to the guy, the wall facer in Netflix, where he like banged a chick and then in the morning he totally forgot her name. And as he was about to say goodbye, he actually accidentally trips on a fire hydrant and like avoids two car crashes. But this poor girl that he just remembers her name after she dies. Yeah, he survives, but she dies. Yeah, so that's kind of it. There's probably way more, but I think that's kind of the gist of it so far. So I guess I'll stop at every 50 pages and tell you what's up. Okay, we are on page 120 now. Looks like that. So far, I'm liking Luo Ji's journey. So after he's gone to the fire hydrant, or after his girlfriend got hit by the car, he gets transported by Dashi. Dashi comes back and they take him to... He goes on a plane, and on the plane he thinks about his first love, his real true love. And turns out it was all in his imagination, his first love. Because he had this girlfriend who was an author, and he would always like kind of criticize her work or tell her all these things to improve on. And she was really bewildered by that, because it takes a lot of skill to be able to build such a realistic character, something that Luo Ji naturally had. I wonder if this comes into play later in the future. But basically he said, for my birthday, she said, for my birthday, I want you to make a novel for me. And yeah, so he starts imagining this lady in his head, and eventually it sort of seems really real, like this lady. And the lady he has no control of the lady, and she pretty much comes in his visions. Like, for example, I think he went out for a hike or something, and he set up a campfire so he could hang out with his vision while his car broke down. And he called his girlfriend, and the girlfriend's like, "Yo, you're with her, right? Like, she knows what it feels like to be with an imaginary character, because she has one and he has one." So I think they break up because of that. It's kind of weird, but that's what he was thinking about on the plane trip to where they're going to New York. It's all revealed in the end, but it keeps like a mystery. In the meantime, there was some side plot with like the Hubble telescope, the Hubble 2 or something, but I don't know. Luo Ji's story was way more interesting. They're at the UN, and they announced the Wall Facer project, which is because apparently the Trisolarans have been sending way more Sophons. Like, originally there was 2, but now there's way more. And maybe that's why early on in the chapter they destroyed one of the Sophons. So basically everything is so transparent, like the whole world to the Trisolarans is transparent. But they can't read minds. So the Wall Facer project, which I think is so cool, is like so cool but very hard to live this life. Because they can't read minds, they've selected 4 people to be a Wall Facer, where they can carry out whatever they want. Whatever plan they have in their mind, they just can't tell it or whatever to stop the Trisolarans. So we'll see how that develops. One of them was like a former president of Venezuela. One of them was really good in armies or something. The third guy, I don't know, might have been a rich dude or something. Bill Hines. Sounds familiar, that name, Bill Hines. Yeah, and then 4th is Luo Ji, and Luo Ji is very confused and shocked, and he doesn't believe it. He's like, I don't want to be it. And everyone has this like fake smile, like, yeah, sure, you don't have to be the Wall Facer or type thing. Like, he denounces it. But when he goes outside, I think he looks at this statue with this hammer thing, and it was kind of confusing. It seemed like the hammer hit him in the chest, but I think really he got shot in his chest. But luckily he was wearing a bulletproof vest, and she kept saying like, do you want protection? Do you need protection? And he's like, no, I'm not a Wall Facer anymore, I don't need protection. But as soon as he goes out, he almost gets assassinated by one of the ETO people. So he's pretty much in hospital and he's recovering and he finally feels good. He requests to see the shooter, and yeah, it's one of those ETO people, and he's like Luo Ji's trying to admit like, I'm not a war facer anymore. And then the guy's like, you're funny. You know, everyone just kind of sees Luo Ji as this joke, I guess. Like, yeah, you really are a war facer, no matter what you say type thing. I don't know. So he's recovered from the war facer thing. He goes to the secretary of the UN or whatever, and he has a chat with her about this whole wall facer thing, and they have a reason why, but they're not gonna explain it yet, and maybe it'll come in the future. But I sort of read the spoilers, and the reason why they've selected him as a wall facer is because he had that brief chat with Yi Wenji. Shame I keep spoiling myself. I gotta stop doing that. So, but I still wonder like, what's gonna happen? Like, we're almost at the point where I'm far away from the Netflix. There's one part where a brain should be shot up into space, and then apart from that, I don't really know. Well, I do know some spoilers about, you know, like Australian stuff. It's so bad. Why did I spoil myself? But it's so interesting, you know. It's so good that I want to spoil myself. I want to know what happens. But yeah, let's just keep reading. What's annoying is there's no chapters. That's the downside of this book. No chapters. There's only parts, so I'm just reading as much as I can, and then I have to get back to you. But I guess these breakdowns, chapter by chapters, won't really happen. I just kind of break down what I've learned. And it's hard to give my predictions because I sort of know a little bit about the spoilers, so I don't know. It won't make for a great video, but I'm at least having more fun reading this, like not stopping at every chapter doing a reaction type thing. Alright, we're on page 150 and things are getting pretty interesting now. All the wall faces are kind of enacting their plan. Two of them are going with the nuclear bomb idea. Nuclear bomb, hydrogen bombs. And Bill Hines is doing something with the brain and trying to unlock the full potential of the brain, like maybe connecting the brain to a computer, which I think it sounds cool, like so the brain doesn't get tired anymore, that kind of thing. But these three people are sort of announcing all their plans out loud to, you know, people, which is like against the wall facer idea, so I don't know why they're doing that. Now the ETO has come up with their own force against the wall facers, and it's called the Wall Breakers. And they meet in the game, the 3-body problem game, and you know, there's those people like Newton, von Neumann, all them people, those dynasty kings and stuff, and they start knighting people. You will be faced with Bill Hines. You will be faced with Ray or whatever, and so on. But they oddly leave out Luo Ji, and they kind of say like Luo Ji is his own wall breaker. Which I guess like, even though, and they also say like Luo Ji is also the only one that's sort of in the way of the Trisolarans. So it's kind of weird what they're doing with Luo Ji. Interesting. So yeah, so what Luo Ji's been doing, he basically is using his resources to have like the best life. He went to the guy who was like, I want an island with a house and all this kind of stuff. And they gave him what he needed. And on this island, it's pretty much like a mansion. It was donated to the UN by some rich guy. And he's been living there for a while and just having a good time. And he saw on TV that they were doing a bid on this like expensive cognac, that alcoholic drink, for like $300,000. And he tells Kent, he's like, yo, I need you to buy that for me or place a bid because it's for the Wall Facer project. So pretty much anything he can have anything he wants as long as he says it's for the Wall Facer project. This sort of bites him in the butt though. Like apparently this cognac, because it's so old, there's some reaction that like gives him poison with the copper and stuff. So he's now kind of lying in the hospital or something, drip fed like IVF
that kind of thing. But he's waiting for Dashi is his plan. Yeah, so that's so far up to 100 page, 150. Yeah, just wondering what Luo G's plan will be. I saw on Reddit that he was like, everyone was like saying he was like a Giga Chad. Yeah, so does he start? I don't know. Let's see how crazy he gets and how he takes advantage of the situation. Really curious to really see what he does. But yeah, kind of weird that the other plans have to be, I guess, talked out loud, which is like the whole point was not to do that. So far, I like Bill Hines' idea. I wonder if that'll end up coming to fruition. Dashi spoke with his son. I don't know if his son is in prison or something. It seems like it. But he gave him like a box of cartons of like cigarettes. And Dashi says like, the next time you're out, you'll be older than me, because I think Dashi is gonna head into hibernation by the sounds of it. And Luo G also wants Dashi in his plan, so they're gonna meet at some point, and then I guess Dashi's gonna go to hibernation. We might see some more hibernation happening too. I'm so excited. Hello, we finally made it to part 2, the spell, but let's do a recap of what I've read in the 50-ish pages from last time. So what's happened is, Dashi meets up with Luo G, and Luo G tells Dashi of that woman he has in his mind, that imagination, that big crush he has. And he wants Dashi to find that woman for him. And he pretty much ends up doing that through some objections. So Dashi like sketches this lady out, and Luo G, he gives a description of her, and then eventually he puts it up onto the computer. And yeah, they quickly find this lady. Her name's like Zhang something. Or was that the other guy? She's basically a graduate in arts, and Luo G is pretty much fallen in love with her. She's pretty much everything he wanted. So they go on a few dates, I would say. She knows that he's part of the wall facer type thing. So the dates that they go on is, they hike up on the mountains, and then they go to the Louvre, where you see the Mona Lisa and all that kind of stuff. And he's pretty much fallen in love. There's like a big description of how his soul is leaking and all these things. Everything's melting, and then there's fireworks. So that was kind of cool. So that's that storyline. It's not really leading anywhere. I thought they'd be banging. Maybe, yeah. I thought they'd be banging in that chapter, but nah, not yet. So with the Hubble telescope, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but there was like some talks of the Hubble telescope. Anyways, now it's reached to an important part. It actually came into fruition. And one of the wall faces, Tyler, he told them to, he basically blackmailed them into rotating the Hubble telescope 30 degrees so they could see the planet Solaris. And when they get the pictures, there's like brushes on the pictures, and it takes them a while to figure it out, but these brushes are the Trisolaran space fleet, and it's kind of sets a little bit of panic within everyone. So yeah, it truly is happening. And then there's a time skip, 5 years, and that's when we get up to this next chapter. So yeah, I wonder how Luo G's going with that girl in the 5-year span. It's quite a big jump. Oh, Dashi has gone into hibernation because he got leukemia. If you remember in the first book, when Dashi was fighting off like the ETO, that person threw like this radioactive bomb type thing, and that's how he got leukemia from it. So his plan is to hibernate, and maybe in the future they'll have a cure for leukemia, and then they'll release him out. So yeah, pretty exciting. And I think from this point on, hopefully the book's gonna get like just up the pace super good. Like already, I mean, I was pretty damn interested. That I don't even know how long when I started this book, but it's already almost halfway, I would say. Yeah, so good. Yeah, predictions. I was looking at Reddit again, and There's some predictions where I think Luo Ji just like stares into the wall at some point. Oh, I do have a prediction that the wall breakers are gonna kill Luo Ji's love interest, and maybe that flips Luo Ji's switch, and that's where he just does some weird things where the Trisolarans just watch him, like he's just meditating in the room for 50 years or something, ready to release his great plan. So I don't know, we'll see. All right, we're on to part 2, the spell, and this is from page 197 to page 250. So quite a lot happened in this. We've now skipped forward like 8 years into the crisis era, or is that 5 years? Yeah, 5 years has passed, but it's like 8 years in the crisis era. And one of the war faces, his plan was so weird. It was like his name was Frederick Tyler, and his plan was to somehow get the ETO to take over a mini space fleet, and then use that space fleet to attack Earth's space fleet, and then give a gift to the Trisolarans, which is a whole bunch of water from the planet Europa and Ceres and something like that as a gift. It was I don't know. It was a weird plan, and basically, Frederick Tyler gets stopped by his wall breaker. He comes to his house or something and tells him that they know his plan, and it gets leaked out, and it's pretty much like everyone doubts the wall facer now, and it really was his plan. He first goes to Luo Ji on the island and tells him about this, that his wall breaker came to him, and this sort of slowly starts the motion of the story, and then he ends up committing suicide afterwards, Frederick Tyler, because I guess his plan really was unveiled and it was kind of bad so I guess he had a lot of shame. So Luo Ji, he's happy. He's been living with his now, I guess, wife, Yuan Zhan or something. And he's got a little baby, or a little kid named Zha, and he's so happy on the island. But things take a turn when the PDC, or the UN, they take away his wife and kids and put them into hibernation, because they're like, Luo Ji, you really need to actually start on this project. And because of this, it actually does force him to start thinking about this wall facer thing. And he remembers about Yi Wenji, about his conversation about her, and he connects that's probably the reason why Trisolarans want him dead. I think he goes out for a walk at one point on a frozen lake and pretty much almost drowns. And one iconic line he says is, "Luo Ji, the wall facer, I am your wall breaker." Like Luo Ji is his own wall breaker. But I don't know how true that is, because later on something happens. Maybe I can skip to that. What else? I think Zhang Batai is in space now. Yeah, I don't really know what the hell's happening with that subplot. Something about, I guess, the first advancements in space flight, I guess, is his thing. It seemed to happen so quick within 5 years, I guess. Yeah. Anyways, Luo Ji sort of announces his plan to like the UN or the PDC or something. And his plan was to, I guess, send like radio waves or satellite waves to like a distant planet. And I think he wants to see what will happen. Yeah, so within, I think, 50 light years away, he's sending like lots of radio, like a satellite message or something. But and I guess his plan will be unveiled soon, but everyone's kind of impressed with the plan. So he finally gets off free from the UN. But the bad thing is everyone around him slowly gets this sickness, like a little bed flu thing. And it's pretty mild, but for Luo Ji, it attacks him really significantly. and they figure out that this was actually like a genetic attack, genetic warfare. Is that the name? And it was designed to like be subtle in everyone else, but be really toxic towards Luigi. So like in his blood, it'll just create toxins and stuff. So I think what they did was they put him into hibernation by the looks of it, hoping for a cure. Yeah, so quite a lot happened in that 50 pages. Where's this gonna go? I guess they're gonna cure. Yeah, my predictions are, I guess they find a cure for Luigi in the future. I'm kind of interested to see what happens in the future. We might see all the plans of the other wall faces happening. I guess we have to skip all the way like 50 years into the future to see Luigi's plan work out. Yeah. Yes. But essentially, I think Luigi's plan is like the Dark Forest idea. I want them to explain it, but we're not up to that. But I think it's like he's sending messages there and then like using that point to spread more messages. So it looks like that planet is the one that's sending out messages, and then maybe we'll see that planet get destroyed by some higher being. And so Luigi calls it a spell. And maybe that will be used against the Trisolarans. But we have to see within 50 years' time if it actually works. But yeah, because of this whole Dark Forest theory. I'm excited to actually see it unveiled and talked about. Just don't know how they'll execute it. We're now up to year 20 crisis era, but we're still in year 12, I guess. So this recap is about year 12-ish. So basically, Luigi is still hibernating, but there's this other character that keeps popping up, and his name is Zhang Betai, and looks like he's into like developing space flight or interstellar space travel is his main goal. And they sort of did a vote within his like sector where, you know, you have this small investment space travel and the medium investment space travel, and then you have the really high end like a lot of resources space travel. And I think only 5% people chose that one. So he's crazy. He ends up hatching a plan to, I guess, murder the people who want to do the other ones. I don't know. This is the craziest plan, and it's kind of unclear to me. But he goes off and he buys a meteorite from someone who collects them, pieces of a meteorite or asteroids. And yeah, he buys them. They're great. And his plan is to use them as bullets, like the meteorites, like forge them into some sort of bullets and make it look like you would get hit by like a meteor shower. So for some reason, they're all in space. I think the people in the other sector, in the same sector, but working on a lower end, they all pose for this. So many coincidences. They all pose for this selfie where they have to do it in front of the sun. And meanwhile, this Zhang Batai is also in space, but he's like prepared all these bullets, asteroid bullets or meteor bullets, into his gun. And he like shoots them all off while they're posing for their photo. And he manages to hit a few, maybe 5 of them. And we don't know what the results are. Presumably, they're probably all dead. Yeah, but that was probably the most craziest plan because, yeah, so he wants more like funding into his area because I think he's taking drastic measures because really it's the only hope that humanity has to invest into this deep interstellar travel. But what a crazy plan that just happened. I don't even know how that they managed to pull that off in the book. It seems so unrealistic for a guy to do that, but they're saying, and the ETO has seen all this with their cell phones, and they're like, you know, none of that really matters, so let's just ignore him. And soon after that, Zhang Batai goes into hibernation, and that's where we reach up to this part, year 20 crisis era. Distance of the Trisolar fleet from the solar system, 4.15 light years. So it's still going to take about 400 years. But yeah, we're in year 20, so that's like 8 years after year 12. I wonder what will happen. Will Luo Ji wake up from hibernation, or will all the other war faces wake up? I thought the story was way more interesting about Luo Ji. I don't really like this Zhang Batai side plot, but I'm sure he becomes more important later on. But at the moment, I don't really like it. And it's kind of, he did bring some action with this crazy coup that he's trying to plan, but so unrealistic. I don't know. All right, let's keep reading. All right, we read up to part 3, the Dark Forest. So before that, I think we were on year 20, the Crisis Era. This whole chapter was crazy. Like, I'm just bewildered at what just happened. So they wake up Heinz from hibernation, and his plan of, like, I guess, forging brains and computers together is pretty much has advanced to a point where he should be woken up from hibernation. So they've managed to build like a supercomputer type thing with like heaps of microprocessors or something. And what this can do is influence the brain. So there was this one guy who was like really afraid of drinking water, and they tested that on Heinz, and Heinz ended up being afraid of water himself. So basically you can implant like an idea of some sort into their brain and they'll just completely believe it. It took him a while to get over it, like lots of therapy to get over it. And so he announces to like the PDC of what his plan is. It's called the mental seal. And the mental seal is like a way to, what I said before. But his plan is to instill humanity with like, to overcome defeatism of the Trisolaran fleet so that people have hope. And surely it gets bypassed in the PDC. They approve of his plan, but they without some resistance. Like they're saying like it's pretty much mind control, and that should be, illegal and all that kind of stuff. And so Heinz comes up with a way of saying that the plan is, people could volunteer to have their brain changed, but only on one condition, where they believe that battle against the Trisolarans is actually possible. And surely heaps of like Space Force people end up taking on this thing. And at that point, Heinz and his wife choose to go to hibernation because there's not much going on. So that's that part. I thought it was a pretty interesting part. Yeah, really cool. But the crazy part, the next part is even more crazier. We come across the other wall facer, which is Ray Diaz. And his plan, so he gets woken up and they've managed to build like super hydrogen bombs or something. And his plan is he wanted to test it out on Mercury and explode that. So that ended up happening. And Mercury ends up with like this like ring around it, just like Saturn type thing. But, it's kind of good news for him. Like his plan is all working. And he wants like 1,000,000 trillion hydrogen bombs when the PDC like kind of talks to him. But unfortunately, his plan... Also, this is the guy who's like afraid of the sun. It's kind of funny. But later he gets confronted by his wall breaker. And the wall breaker's like, I can fix your problem with the sun type thing. And the wall breaker pretty much goes through his massive plan. Like, amazing that he figured it out. It's pretty crazy. Essentially, Ray Diaz's plan was to like bomb Mercury so much that it decelerates into the sun. And then once that happens, it sets off like this chain reaction where like Venus ends up going to the sun, Earth comes into the sun, and Jupiter goes in the sun. And essentially like the whole solar system like pretty much gets wiped out. And yeah, one of the craziest plans ever. And it's just like the first wall facer guy where he wanted to like sacrifice humanity to destroy these Trisolarans. Everyone hates this plan. And but he puts them under threat when he's being confronted by the PDC and all that. He's like, with my watch here, if I die, then a signal will be sent to the bombs in Mercury and it will happen. So I guess this is the spell that is the name of this like subsection of this book. So his spell is like, if he dies, then that will happen. Any changes to his like blood temperature, blood pressure, all this kind of stuff, it will send the signal, and catastrophe will start happening. And so pretty much he threatens them like with that, and he says, I just want to go back to my homeland. This is not part of the Wallfacer plan. And so they let him do that. One of the guys that's been in the book, Garanin or something, Ray Diaz tells him that it was all like a hoax. Like it was all just a bluff, that watch thing. And he gives it to Garanin as a souvenir. And when he returns to the homeland, like he's not afraid of the sun anymore. He loves the sun now. But before he had a massive phobia of it. And I think it was because of his plan that he had in mind. Yeah, as soon as he arrives on his home country, everyone just throws stones at him, and this grandma like pretty much gives him the final blow and throws a stone up into his skull, and he dies. Pretty crazy way of dying. And then we get like a time skip of like everyone, all these secondary characters that were in the book. They weren't too important that I want to name their names because I don't remember, but it was just a whole list of characters that were mentioned in the book. And they all just died of pretty much old age. Ding Yi, though, I swear, was Ding Yi in the first book? He tried to stop the Sophon's technology by going into theoretical physics, but he made barely any progress. So he's decided to hibernate. And yeah, that was crazy chapter. Well, I don't know, chapter. I hope the next part is the Dark Forest. So I think, and it's part 3, and we'll be in year 205. So I think like lots of people will be woken up, like Luo Ji, Ding Yi, Zhang Batai. Who else was in a hibernation? We got Heinz. Lots of people, and did I say Ding Yi? I don't know. Lots of people are in hibernation, and I wonder what 200 years from now looks like. Seems like they're making pretty good progress with the space exploration. Like they have a space elevator that can, help them build weapons up there. I wonder what's gonna happen. I think Luo Ji comes up with his plan, and then it gets into deterrence era. But that's like future, and that's like future spoilers. All right, we just read pages probably 300 to 350. And it is crazy. We're pretty much 200 years into the future. Luo Ji has been woken up from hibernation, and everything is so different. Oh, what can I say? I guess like when they walk on the floors like do like that LCD thing when you touch a TV and all this rainbow stuff comes out. All the nurses and stuff, all their clothes like transform depending on their emotion. Yeah, it's very cool. So much things are different. When he drinks like a cup of milk, you can turn like a dial. This is a crazy invention. You can turn a dial to like heat up the milk. Apparently no one drinks hot water or hot coffee or anything hot. What significant thing happens? So basically he's cured. That's significant. And there's a lot of things like that are mentioned that they haven't gone through yet, which is the Great Ravine. I wonder what that is. It seems like a lot of things were lost during that, and now people live underground. So when Luo Ji goes outside, this nurse or whatever is holding this umbrella-like thing, but it turns out it's a bicycle. And when they go outside, the sky looks amazing and all this, but it's all just like a hologram type thing, and they really just live underground. Yeah, so Luo Ji and Heinz and his wife, they all wake up, and It's like a new PDC. It's like the space fleet that's taken over the PDC over these 200 years. And they talk about the failed wolf facer plan. And basically I think they denounced the wolf facer act. So Luo Ji is no longer a wolf facer, and same with Heinz, which is crazy. Also, Luo Ji's like spell on the planet didn't end up working, which is a shame. But I wonder if that'll come back. We'll see. Yeah, so they announced like, the wall faces was pretty much a joke. All the wall faces wanted to, they all wanted to like backstab humanity, basically. Lead into the escapism, defeatism type thing, which is apparently illegal on this, They have to keep believing that they can defeat the aliens type thing. Yeah, so they denounced that and all is crazy good. I guess Luo Ji's happy. He's like wondering if he can unhibernate his wife and child. But this girl, this is the crazy plot twist. Heinz's partner, I forget her name, Kameko or something. She said something to the whole group, and she says, "Heinz, I am your wall breaker." Oh, I can't believe she was the wall breaker. I didn't see it coming. It's so crazy. And his plan was, she reveals his plan and it makes little sense to me. Basically, he has created like some more secret mental seals. And I think they're starting like their own little religion type thing that's been hidden across the centuries. Something like that. Yeah, I don't really understand his plan. I might have to look that up. But she basically reveals all that. And that's pretty much where I got up to with reading. How far are we? Whew, this is definitely a 5-star book, man. These ideas are crazy. Makes me want to keep reading. I'm so excited. What is the deal with his plan, Heinz? I guess the mental seal. He also put a mental seal on himself, saying that his wall facer plan is 100% correct type thing. And looks like in the present or the future, they've banished like the mental seal. They think it's illegal to control people's thoughts. Yeah, and technology couldn't go any further because, you start getting into the quantum realm of the brain, and cell phones would just block that. And apparently the ETO is like dead, and she's like the last ETO person. And I think the plan was to, I don't really know what Heinz's plan is, and I can't really think of it, so I'm gonna have to look that up. But I think it's just to imprint. They're called imprints, these people who have had their minds changed. I guess the imprint people, maybe they'll do whatever necessary to defeat these aliens. So even if that means like the illegal escapism or defeatism, which I think Trisolarans are afraid of. So yeah. So Luo Ji is now out of the hospital place, the hibernation place or whatever. And he meets up with Darshi, the cop from like the first book. And, they sort of hang out. But all of a sudden, all these like attempts on Luo Ji's life starts happening. Like first a car almost hits him again, and they start thinking maybe it's kind of suspicious. He almost falls into a manhole because the manhole's like digitally operated, and when he goes out to lunch, the robot server like almost tries to stab him. So many attempts. And then when he's at Darshi's place, when he sits on the couch like tries to strangle him. Yeah, so many crazy things. And I think a police officer comes in and says that there's this virus going around that was put by the ETOs like many years ago, and it's meant to just target Luo Ji, but since he hasn't been around, it hasn't activated. It's been like dormant. Although they used this virus to like attack other people back in the day. So yeah, this virus infects like technology and uses technology to try kill that person. So there's two things. There's one thing that they say he could do is Luigi he should go up to the surface. And that's the plan, I guess. The other plan was not a good plan. So he goes up to the surface to avoid all this like technology trying to kill him. And on the surface, he sees it's so different. It's like really sandy. You barely see the sun. And this is pretty much the Great Ravine. So what happened in this future was they spent so much resources on space travel, and that it like kind of destroyed the planet. Way too much stuff on space, and not enough resources down there. So the population went from like 8 something billion to like 3 billion. So like 5 billion lives were lost. There was like a big famine, not enough food. And so there was like a revolution where they decided to stop working on space travel and devote, like, civilization should come first. So with that, all the funding went into like genetic crops and stuff. And so they could feed themselves without the need of the sun. Yeah. So that's why food underground tastes bland and stuff. Also, Dashi and they meet up with his son, and his son pretty much tells him about all this Great Ravine stuff. And his son's like only 5 years younger than Dashi now. And then we skip to Zhang Bahai, who has a commander who's very sus. She seems like she's imprinted. She keeps kind of subtly mentioning, like, if you were to do this on this, like, he gets control of natural selection, which is like this big space fleet, I think. And she's like, if you were to change the controls, you would need this and this. It's like all these subtle things. And the way they talk to each other is it's very, look, it seems like flirting almost. So I wonder how that's going. And yeah, that's pretty much up to page 400. It seems like I read a little bit. The droplet has come. The probe has come. I haven't called it a droplet yet. And that's about to get crazy, but we'll stop it there. All right, I read so much. I pretty much went from page 400 to like page 510 or something. Almost finished the book, just like 40 pages to go. It got really good. So basically the droplet, this space probe that the Trisolarans sent, has reached the solar system, and they're making plans on how to deal with it. And they get one of their ships. I think their space fleet, they ended up being in a huge like rectangle thing, formation of like 1,000 space fleets. And they send out one of their space fleets called like the Mantis to grab the probe. And the probe's only like 3.5 meters or something. I can't believe it's that small. It makes no sense. They get the probe, everything seems fine. I think a lot of people on the Earth and everyone thinks it as a sign of peace between the Trisolarans and Earth. And it's like in the shape of a droplet, like a droplet of water. And so people think that it's like a sign where, you know, like water's like the symbol where both planets really need water type thing. But unfortunately, Ding Yi, he all the way from the first book, he's managed to hibernate, and now he's here. He inspects the probe, and it looks so smooth, like it's really smooth. They use a microscope to look at it, and then it still looks really smooth. And they keep going to like 1,000,000 times, and it's like really, really smooth. And so Ding Yi fears, like, he basically tells everyone like this shouldn't happen, because you need a strong force, like really advanced technology, to be able to build something like this. And so Ding Yi pretty much tells everyone to get into deep sea space right now and get prepared to leave. Oh, I forgot. I think before that, Zhang Bahai has taken over the natural selection, and his ship just went off. His whole plan this whole time was to abandon Earth, and he formulated this plan when his like dad died. So his arc actually ended up being really cool. Like during the whole book, it was pretty boring, but I think now his stuff is really cool. And yeah, so he flees Earth with the natural selection with like 2,000 people, and they send they send off 2 warships to follow him because they're going at a really slow speed because they don't have that much fuel left. So they're all traveling off. And it's a good thing that they did, because let's go back to the droplet. So as soon as Ding Yi says that, only a few ships manage to go into deep sea space, and the droplet like awakens. It pretty much starts going at full speed, attacking all the ships that are in a rectangle position. Is so stupid. You know, the humans were so confident about like being able to defeat Trisolarans, but their technology is way ahead of us. So what happens? Yeah, so Ding Yi and all them people are dead. R.I.P. Ding Yi, my man, all the way in the first book. Whatever happened to Wang Miao, you know? I'm pretty sure Ding Yi was the one that married Yang Dong, I think. Or he was her partner. But yeah, he made it this far. And yeah, this probe is like, it can like do sharp turns really quickly, and it just goes through it attacks like every ship's like fusion core type thing, and they all get destroyed. And then after all that, only like some ships manage to escape, luckily because of Ding Yi's words, so they're off in space. You have like the quantum and the quantum age versus the bronze age. They all like traveled in a different direction. So you have the space of natural selection and a few other ones, blue space and something else going in this direction, and then bronze and quantum age going in that direction. Yeah, so that's called the Doomsday Battle, and it's all done, and it was pretty exciting to read. I guess it went on for ages, but I think what's even better is the next section, which is the Battle of the Darkness. I had no idea this was even going to happen, so it was amazing that it got revealed. So the people in like the natural selection and the 2 warships, they realize that they overhear that the Battle of the Droplet thing didn't end up going well, so it ends up that Zhang Bahai's plan was actually a good plan. And so they decide to create like their own little country thing. I think they call it something with Earth, I don't know. And pretty much they try to come up with constitutions and stuff between the 3 ships that are just traveling into some space. But over time, they kind of stop talking to each other. Everyone starts being more introverted, and they kind of realize that there's not enough fuel to get them to the other place. And so each ship sort of comes up with their own plan of like, if we destroy their ship, we can get all their fuels and resources. And they all kind of come to this realization, and they all start attacking each other's ships. Our man Zhang Bahai, he was about to press this ship, but I guess he had like his humanity sort of took over him, and it delayed him for just a little bit. And because of that, his ship got like destroyed, the natural selection, and he ends up dying with everyone, and that commander, who I thought they were going to get together with, but not. So they die, and but luckily blue space or deep space or something, I think it starts with blue, that ship managed to put its protection on and shoot a laser at the other warship and destroy that ship. And then yeah, so that blue spaceship or whatever has got all the resources now, enough fuel to take them wherever, 60,000 light years or something. Or no, it'll take like 60,000 years or something. And crazy enough, the same thing happened to the other place with Quantum and Bronze Age, but Bronze Age ended up winning over there. So that was probably the most craziest part, and just it was interesting to see the psychology of everyone kind of deteriorating, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen. Yeah, so that's pretty much that. And then on Earth, it's everything's into chaos, like, and Luo Ji has this amazing realization. Like, he looks at one of his stars. I haven't said it yet, but I'm pretty sure my prediction is like that spell he put on actually ended up working. So we'll see more details on that. But yeah, lots of panic is happening, and Luo Ji has a plan to save all this, and he thinks the droplet is there just to attack him. So they're they're trying to rush to hatch this plan that Luigi has to deal with the Trisolarans. But they only have about 4 hours left. So, yeah. So my predictions are, well, so far that was like pretty amazing chapter. This book's still a 5 out of 5. My predictions are that, yeah, we'll see that Luigi will explain that the planet got destroyed and now he can use this as a weapon against the Trisolarans and their Earth thing. And we'll finally get to hear what this Dark Forest thing is. So that'll be really exciting. Yeah, and then I wonder how Death's End will be like. I won't know much. I think I've read like 0 spoilers on that, so that'll be a really good one to read. So yeah, I'm really excited to finish it. I'll probably finish it tonight, but I got a whole bunch of stuff to do. But there's only like 40 pages to read, so I wonder how he'll wrap it all up. I did it. I finished this book, The Dark Forest, 5 out of 5. Okay, so let's wrap up what we just read. Well, I finished it yesterday. So we skip to Luoji, and he's hearing that the probe, the droplet, is coming towards Earth at a pretty fast speed, and he thinks that it's the Trisolarans trying to kill Luoji. So he hatches a plan to go to the desert and minimize the impact of a droplet or meteor type thing hitting Earth. So when he does that, he soon realizes that the probe, actually the droplet, is not actually going to destroy Earth, and instead they block out the telecommunications. Like, it goes in front of the sun, blocks out all the telecommunications, so you can't send any signals out there in space. Why is that? Well, we find out why. Because when Luoji finally gets back to the place he's staying, everyone kind of realizes, they see the news that Luoji's spell actually ended up working, where he, like 200 years before, he sent out a signal to a planet, and that planet got wiped out by some other being. They pretty much destroyed their sun and their solar system. Pretty crazy. And so Luoji explains to Dashi about this whole Dark Forest idea. And it's really cool how he explains it. It's probably one of the bigger highlights of the book. But essentially they're talking in a dark room, and he's like, they're smoking, and you can see the red light on each of them. And they're talking about how, like, if you pretend the red light's like one planet and the other one's another planet. And he talks about the axioms of truth, of like how, you know, every civilization wants to slowly expand because their population will just keep growing. So they need to expand and expand. And what was the other axiom? Oh, and like the things in the universe will stay constant. So eventually you'll need to expand to your solar system, universe, and so on. Now, there's some other things that you can derive from this, and it's like no matter what technology people are at, so you might be a really low civilization, but once you hit like a technology boom, the rate of you upping your technology to be a threat like really increases. So as a person, as another alien species who sees this low level planet, if they don't stop them in time, they're gonna have weapons really quickly. And in the grand scheme of the universe, like the time scale of the universe, like this can happen within just like 1,000 years or something, because technology, as you know, there's like a law, Murphy's law, where technology will just keep rising and rising exponentially. And that's like the math that always ruins nice math. So yeah, it's in the best interest for other aliens to destroy other aliens as soon as they have they reach that technology boom, or even before, so it doesn't even matter. So I guess that's what that alien in the Luoji's planet did. So he's explaining that all to Dashi. It's really cool. Definitely one of the highlights. Yeah. And Luoji becomes the wall facer again. Like, everyone believes in him again. They all see him as a messiah, a prophet, a god, and all this. And that's all good for like 5 years, and then people start losing interest again. they try to use his like status. The UN uses his status to try help build this project where, because Trisolarans are like bringing 9 more probes to Earth. What they want to do is build some sort of like cloud around the sun or the solar system, where if the probes pass through the cloud, then it'll let Earth know that they're coming, so then they have time to escape. That's essentially their plan. But, you know, Luigi has something up in his sleeve, and we'll find that out in a bit. But it's actually really cool, this whole like reveal. You know, Luigi looks like he's lost interest. He's just kind of doing things for the sake of doing things. So you are led to believe. Yeah, and then the way he's living is like really depressed. He's in his little house. It's just like full of, you know, it's a huge mess. Looks like he's been taking some drugs or something. And he heads out to Yi Wenji's graveyard, where there was like the ant there, and Yang Dong's graveyard, and the ant from like 200 years ago. There's a different ant now. It's kind of cool. Nice parallels. And he has a gun and he's about to kill himself, but then he talks to the Sophons. He's like, Sophons. He does the same thing as the wall facer, like Ray Diaz. He's like, in here I have a death watch thing, you know. It'll, if anything happens to my vitals, then the snowflake project that I helped created, I put bombs in that, and it'll explode and set off a signal to other aliens, and it will assure our mutual destruction of Trisolarans and Earth if he dies. So he comes up with that threat, and quickly the Sophons start talking to him. Trisolarans start talking to him, and he pretty much gives all these demands, like, I want you to get this probe away. I want you to help us get gravitational antennas, all this kind of thing. Yeah, it's really cool, and I want you to stop your fleet coming and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, they do it. They accept every demand of his, and he ends up living happily with his wife and child. And he speaks to the Trisolaran, the pacifist, and they talk about, you know, how good things are. And he says, maybe we can, if we work together, we can have the sun shine in the dark forest and reveal everything. Really cool metaphor. Like, what an amazing book. What can I say? It's just a really good book. 5 out of 5. I'll have to make a review at some point. When I read the preview of the next book, it didn't seem that good. It's like 3 pages long. So I don't even know what it was about. Like, it was they were still in the game for some reason. The 3-body game.